When I'd finished rubbing down the stove, I took a bucket and brush out to scrub my doorstep. Mam was out there on her own step. I hadn't moved far when I married Freddie. "All right, Mam," I said. I had to ask her in for a cup of tea. "Not pregnant yet?" Mam asked. I looked at the mantel clock. It was a minute past. Seemed always to be that time. "We're trying, Mam," I said, the same answer as usual. "He don't get much time away from sea now. He wants to get enough saved up for when we have a family." "The way I hear it," Mam said, picking up a spoon, stirring her tea, "he'll have another mouth to feed soon." I blinked at her. "I'm not pregnant," I said. Mam examined her reflection in her spoon and said, "There's muck on this." She dropped the spoon back on the table. I felt the ground jolt underneath me. I bit my tongue and asked after the little uns. Mam barged on, gargling gossip. This was maybe the third year in a row that Mam hadn't been pregnant. Maybe she was finally done with all that. At 19, it was my turn. I felt her eyes patting down my dress where it slumped empty over my hips. When Freddie's boat came back from sea, the house was scrubbed to shining. I brushed my hair out and drew it away from my face. I'd spent all afternoon cooking. Steak and kidney pie and jam sponge for afters. The lard I'd bought with the last of my house money. The smell drifted out of the house and down the street. The little uns came over from Mam's with big eyes. "Got enough for us, Biddy?" they asked. I chased them off. Our brother Tommy was on the same boat, so there'd be something special cooking over at theirs anyhow. Freddie came in and slung his kit bag down on the floor like his whole body wanted to follow it. I put my hand on his cheek. It was cold, hairy and rough, like a sea animal's skin. He rubbed his face into my hand. "Your hands are soft," Freddie said into my palm. My hands were rough as any woman's, made into leather by hot water and carbolic soap. I took him to the table and sat him down. I poured him a beer and he stared at the bubbles rising in the glass. The seam across his face seemed paler than ever. His hair was so blonde it was almost white. I wanted to feel the heat of him. I'd been cold so long while he was away. After a while, Freddie said, "Okay, girl." He lifted me off his lap and reached for his boots. "You're off out." My voice fell, flat, onto the floor at his feet. A pause stretched between us. "Bridget, just stay in with me, can't you?" I tried to put my arms around him, but he pushed me off. I could feel the restless sea moving in him. He didn't come back until late next morning. His clothes were wet. Mam told me later that he'd been found sleeping outside the pub. They'd had to put a bucket of water over him to wake him up.